Righty. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, very good. Thank you very much for coming tonight. We will get started. We've got a couple of special guests that came all the way from Tulsa, and that'll make more sense in a little bit to open the meeting for us. So we've got Jasmine and Jalea, guests, and they're seventh graders. They're homeschooled, and like I said, they live in the Tulsa area. Their parents are sitting up front. Pastor Jesse and Michelle, just thank you very much for coming down. So we're going to let you guys do it. So Jasmine, the microphone is all yours.
I call this meeting to order.
Right here, Jalea.
Do I just hit it?
Yeah, you just hit it. There you go. Give you something. We can do pictures real quick. You guys can walk right over here. You can get up and get whatever you want. Right. Very good. All right, we will call the roll.
Matthews?
Here.
Ingalls? Here. Flood?
Here.
Holt?
Here.
Rutherford? Seymour?
Here.
Salter?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll now do our invocation. So we have Pastor Jesse Gist from the House of Glory Church in Tulsa. So, Pastor, if you'll come right up to the microphone, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus. We give you praise, glory, and honor. We thank you for this blessed opportunity. We give you praise, Father God, that even as we are gathered here, that we're standing on the shoulders of love. And we thank you, Father God, that this meeting will be a productive meeting that will bring forth glory to your name. I pray for the mayor of this city. I thank you that you've given him insight on how to run the city, Father. I give you praise, glory, and honor tonight that all will be well and all is well. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, sir. Would you join us in the flag salute? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Citizens participation. Okay, we got more. That's good. Oh, very good. All righty. Like always, 3 minutes per person, 12 minutes per topic. Our city attorney will keep time. We will not respond to you, but you may hear something, commissioner's comments at the end. So, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 that have signed up. Wolf Googler is first. So, Wolf, come on down. Microphone's all yours. How are you doing tonight? Good to see you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Just have a couple of items to address regarding Shawnee Twin Lakes. What else? First, I want to acknowledge the additional efforts of Corporals Rich Ryder and Josh Soward of the Shawnee Police Department for stepping up patrol at the lake. They've been visible for a few hours every day, and I've personally seen an ongoing situation that affected our neighborhood as a result of their efforts. We really appreciate that. However, since the February 22nd Commission meeting, the Lake Advisory Committee recommendation to add law enforcement staffing was presented. And the city manager said an alternate funding avenue would be needed for this. We haven't heard anything since that point in time. I hope it's not a dead issue. Love to hear an update on this at this point in time. At the last March Commission meeting, the state regulations falling in line with Shawnee regulations for lake watercraft were adopted. They won't be much good if there's no enforcement. Perhaps as a first step, some money could be identified to build out the dock at Lake One that would allow the city watercraft to be docked there full-time, and in an emergency situation, that would cut down their time to respond. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. All righty, next up is Rob Morris. There you are. How you doing, Rob?
So I just have some questions, excuse me, about the building that twice now in a month has caught fire. It's 113 South Philadelphia, little green building just south of the library, and I believe it's Celebration Park. It's caught fire twice in a month. Interesting thing is, the person on the county record, which when you look it up, is not the person that owns it. Somebody else does. They need to pay their taxes too. Here's the power box and the mailbox showing that that green building is the half address. Now, what's interesting is that building should have been torn down. We've discussed this before. That building should have already been torn down last year. There's the permit for it right there from the city of Shawnee. It says 113 and a half. And yet it wasn't. We tore down that White House instead and removed the utilities, I guess, from that one instead. So now a building is caught on fire twice in a month. And I really hope it doesn't take someone else losing a building, a business, or God forbid, a life before we finally get to the bottom of who owns that property, why they haven't paid taxes, and why they're allowing homeless people to just squat there with impunity to anything. So with that, the last thing I'd actually mention is, if you read city code, instead of talking to us at the end during commissioners' comments, it actually states you can ask for clarification or address us while we're standing here and before the next person takes the podium. Y'all can look that one up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All righty, next up is Kevin Nagel. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Commission. Been running like crazy. Had all my notes written down and they're left at home because I got
great.
called. I work at the hospital. I'm a chaplain at St. Anthony Hospital here in Shawnee. I pastored, executive pastor of Downtown Church, Downtown Pentecostal Holiness, for 18 years. I resigned from there because I changed my theology. But I'm speaking about living on North Chapman Street, and it's concerning Oklahoma Baptist University. Been great neighbors for years. I guess I gotta make a long story short. They haven't been taking care of their property. It's been looking really bad. No one wants to say anything. We have staff on my street. I live on 2207 North Chapman. And on my side, there are 9 OBU houses. And on the south side of the continuation of Chapman across Franklin, or across Midland, I'm sorry, is 5 OBU houses. Staff live on my street. I have a marketing director for OBU. I have 2 professors, and we had the assistant swim coach, but they stopped the swim team, so he found another job. That house is right next door to mine. And the property care, year by year, is just getting really bad. They may mow 3 times a summer, whereas I hear of friends getting complaints and getting tickets and fines of having their property just a little too long. Whereas the last property, I took pictures of them. I didn't want to look like a whiny old man. I really didn't. I deleted the pictures, but it was up to my knees. And the house next door was getting that way too. They're not only are they the property just falling apart, or just, I mean, the lawns, the front yard, backyard, but there have been, as per a couple of neighbors told me, some squatters. There have been people breaking into the homes. The houses have been, windows have been smashed. It is an older neighborhood, Sunset Estates. My house is 1948 New England bungalow. We came here for ministry from Southern California. It's still somewhat quiet street, even though it's majority of OBU students. But the houses are still kept up of the private owners. And we feel that OBU is dropping the ball from care for the buildings, painting. They look really bad. They're getting worse and worse, and we're really concerned about the riffraff it's bringing in. I know they have the police, and they're doing a good job with that. I don't have any complaints with that. It is good to see them drive down the street along with Shawnee Police Department.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Mr. Rick Young. There he is. How are you this evening?
County impromptu, I just want to stand and, first off, congratulate the city on Love Your Block. We have some representatives here, had a chance to meet with them, and I'm in favor of that. There's a lot of things going on that are good in Shawnee. That is one of them. And so I stand in support of the Love Your Block project that's getting ready to proceed in Shawnee, America. There are great things happening. The young man just spoke. I feel you and I understand some of those challenges that we have. And they're just challenges, they're not problems. We get opportunity to take care of some of those things. So, anyway, stand in defense of what's getting ready to come forth with Love Your Block. The constituents, mainly Ward 3, some of Ward 4, those individuals, once they know completely exactly what's taking place, will be excited. They will have a chance to know that somebody's addressing some of their wants, desires, needs, and feel that they are a part of the community. And that's been lacking for some time, but I just wanted to give flowers here to you guys. I know those of you that are uncompensated, you're here on your dime, and we thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All righty. Okay, item 2 is consider approval of consent agenda. Is there anything anyone needs to pull off the consent agenda? It's not much on there tonight, it didn't look like. Anyone got a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve item 2.
Thank you, sir.
No, second.
All righty, so Daniel and Travis. We have motion and a second for approval of item 2. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 3 is presentation by Animal Control to present Pet of the Week. And I think I saw one out there. Looks like we have a dog tonight. There we go. Looks like a puppy. Looks like we have lots of energy.
Hello, my name's Brandy. I'm with Shawnee Animal Welfare. This is Ducky, and we think she's about 4 months old. Maybe like a lab mix or something like that. She's very high energy.
Yeah.
And we think she would be a great swimmer or hunter. And at the shelter right now we have 23 dogs and 3 cats. We've adopted 8 animals out of the shelter and 1 rescue and 5 reclaims.
Very good.
To adopt Ducky, she would be a $5 adoption fee. She's not spayed yet, so it's $25 deposit for that, and then a $10 city tag.
Very good.
All right,
Thank
thank
you
you so
very
much.
Nice dog. All righty. Item 4 is Mayor's Proclamations. We have 3 this evening, Fair Housing Month. So, Ryan, I think that was me and you, isn't it? I'm going to take this down because we get 3 of them. So I know what we got going. Get this halfway organized here. All right. So Fair Housing Month, whereas the Fair Housing Act enacted on April 11, 1968, enshrined in federal law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, religion, sex, familial status, national origin, and disability, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. And whereas the city of Shawnee has adopted a fair housing ordinance and has designated the month of April as Fair Housing Month, and encourages each citizen to implement the provisions of those acts. And whereas the City Commission has further designated the city clerk as the Fair Housing Activities Coordinator, and requests that any person or group of persons inform the Fair Housing Activities Coordinator of any planned activities to promote fair housing. And whereas it is the desire of the City of Shawnee to recognize those persons or groups who best create an awareness of the need of fair housing practices or otherwise promotes fair housing practices. And whereas the City of Shawnee urges all citizens to join in recognizing fair housing and the importance it serves to our community. Now, therefore, I, Ed Bolt, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim April 2022 to be Fair Housing Month. So I will give that to you, Ryan, and is there anything you'd like to say? No. All right, very good. Thank you so much. And next one we have is National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. And I think Christina Brown is here. Yes, she is. No, that's good. I'll make sure I get the right one. I'm sending home with the wrong one. How are you?
All right.
Good to see you. So National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, whereas emergencies can occur at any time and require police, fire, or emergency medical services. When an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the City of Shawnee. And whereas professional public safety telecommunications are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are a vital link for our police officers and firefighters and support them by monitoring their activities, our radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas over the past year, public safety telecommunicators of the City of Shawnee Communications Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, the suppression of fires, and the treatment of patients while exhibiting compassion, understanding, and professionalism during their performance. And whereas their proclamation is presented in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe, their valuable service should be applauded and held in the highest regard all through the year. For without their commitment, devotion, and hard work, a countless number of lives and property would be in jeopardy. Now therefore, I, Ed Bolt, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim the week of April 10 through 16, 2022 to be National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. So thank you very much for all the hard work and everything you guys do to keep us safe. We really do appreciate that.
Ed, can you take a picture
I
of that?
bet we can. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Vicki, did you get it? All righty. And one more. We've got National Donate Life Month. And Robin Morris from Life Share is here. And I'm going to have, there you go, Julia. Come up here with me. You don't get out that easy. So, April is National Donate Life Month, whereas 106,000 Americans and 645 Oklahomans are currently on the national transplant waiting list. And whereas another person is added to the waiting list every 9 minutes, and on average, 17 people die every day because the organs they need are not donated in time. And whereas National Donate Life Month is a nationwide observance to raise awareness of the critical need for organ and tissue donation, and whereas the most effective way to address this health crisis is to encourage citizens to register their decisions to be an organ, eye, tissue donor in the National Donate Life Registry, registerme.org, lifeshareregistry.org, or at the local tag agency. And whereas one donor can save up to 8 lives through organ donation and can improve another 75 lives through eye and tissue donation. And whereas National Donate Life Month celebrates the generosity of those who have saved lives and encourage others to become registered donors. And whereas the mayor and city of Shawnee, Oklahoma feel that the Donate Life cause of saving and healing lives through organ, eye, and tissue donation is of immediate and worthwhile importance. Now therefore I, Ed Bolt, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim April 2022 to be National Donate Life Month. So I'm going to give this to you, and I'll give you a few minutes if you want to say something. You're very welcome to do that.
Sure. I would just encourage everybody, like Ed said, to register as an organ donor if that's your wish. You can save 8 lives if you become a donor and enhance up to 75 more through tissue donation. So it's a good cause.
And I'm going to tack on a little bit more, if I can get through this. This, is a really, really meaningful thing for me. My son was a donor. Jalea was a recipient of one of his kidneys. So, we're so glad to have you here. The horrible day that we had, the flip side of that was that this family got the phone call that they had an organ. And you can see she's doing pretty good. And we really appreciate you guys coming down from Tulsa to be here tonight, because, it's one thing to read a proclamation, but to actually see it,
Never tell them what she calls her kidney.
Yeah. So what do you call your kidney? EJ. As much. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Consideration of a loan agreement and purchase of Motorola radios for the fire department. And Chief Whitman, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you this evening?
Doing great.
This request is for the purchase and replacement of the department's portable radios along with 2 of its mobile radios. The radios that we're using are critical to the department's operation. All of the department's radios have met their expected service life, and all of the radios are also of an older AN series that is no longer supported by Motorola. Currently, of the 16 portable radios, 2 of those radios are damaged beyond repair, and a third is out for service and possible repair. That leaves only 13 radios to be passed out each shift, and is limiting the number of personnel that carry radios. Staff has recommended approval, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Very good. Anybody got questions for Chief? Anybody got a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll second.
Tammy. Thank you, Chief. All right, we have a motion and second for approval of item 5. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 6, consideration and possible action of an ordinance regarding an amendment to the City of Shawnee plan adopting the revised and restated OKMRF, Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund Master Defined Contribution Retirement Plan. And Ms. Greenland is up. How are you?
Yes. Good. How are you?
Doing great.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, this is the first of 3 items involving the retirement for the non-union employees. This item in particular is the DC plan. It's for new employees, and then those employees who were hired from July 1 of 2013, and that chose this as their primary retirement plan. This is basically just housekeeping to keep up with the IRS regulations to make sure our plans are approved.
Okey-doke. Anybody got any questions? Anybody got a question on this end? No? Anyone want to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item 6.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Daniel and Mark, you've got a lot of reading to do.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance amending the employee retirement system defined contribution plan for the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma by adopting a revised and restated retirement plan, providing retirement benefits for eligible employees of the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, providing for purpose and organization, providing for definitions, providing for eligibility and participation, providing for non-alienation of benefits, providing for employer and employee contributions, providing for accounting, allocation, and valuation, providing benefits, providing for required notice, providing for amendments and termination, providing for transfer to and from other plans, creating a retirement committee, and providing for powers, duties, and rights of retirement committee, providing for payment of certain obligations, providing for duration and payment of expenses, providing for effective date, providing for vesting schedules, providing for a fund to finance the system to be pooled with other incorporated cities, towns, and their agencies and instrumentalities for the purpose of administration, management, and investment as part of the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund, providing for payment of all contributions under the system to the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund for management and investment, providing for repealer and severability, adopting those amendments mandated by the Internal Revenue Code, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We will call the question. And motion passes 6-0.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion we add an emergency clause.
Thank you, sir. We have a second for that.
I'd like to second that, sir.
All right, appreciate it. We have a motion and a second for the approval of the emergency clause. We'll call that question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 7, consideration and possible action of ordinance regarding an amendment to the City of Shawnee Management Plan adopting and revised and restated OKMRF, Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund, Master Defined Contribution Retirement Plan. Ms. Garland is up again, green on my.
This is the second of the 3 plans. This is the city management plan. It's the city manager and the department heads have this plan, and it's just a defined contribution plan. Any questions?
Well, anybody got any questions? If not, does anybody got a motion?
I move that we approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Mark and Cammy, all right. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 7. We'll call the question.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're up. You got a lot of reading.
to.
Yeah, let me tell you, there's a bunch. I'm sorry.
No problem. An ordinance amending the employee retirement system defined contribution plan for the position of department head or city manager for the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by adopting a revised and restated retirement plan, providing retirement benefits for the eligible employees of the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, providing for purpose and organization, providing for definitions, providing for eligibility and participation, providing for non-alienation of benefits, providing for employer and employee contributions, providing for accounting, allocation, and valuation, providing benefits, providing for required notice, providing for amendments and termination, providing for transfer to and from other plans, creating a retirement committee and providing for powers, duties, and rights of retirement committee, providing for payment of certain obligations, providing for duration and payment of expenses, providing for effective date, providing for vesting schedules, providing for a fund to finance the system to be pooled with other incorporated cities and towns and their agencies and instrumentalities for the purpose of administration, management, and investments, part of the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund, providing for payment of all contributions under the system to the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund for management and investment, providing for repealer and severability, adopting those amendments mandated by the Internal Revenue Code, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, sir. You only have to do that one more time. All righty, we have a motion and a second. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion we add an emergency clause.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
And Mark, okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the emergency clause. We'll call that question. And emergency clause passes 6-0. Item 8, consideration and possible action of an ordinance regarding an amendment to the City of Shawnee Special Incentive CMO Plan, adopting the revised and restated OKMRF, Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund, Master Defined Contribution Retirement Plan, and Ms. Greenland is up one more time.
This is my third and final time.
There you go.
This plan is the third final plan. It's a special incentive plan that was instituted in July of 2013. It was a 5-year plan for the city manager and the department heads at that time. We do not have any active employees on this plan, but it is still, they still have a balance, so it's still an active plan.
All righty.
Any questions over that plan?
Any questions? Everybody good? Anyone got a motion?
I'd like to make a motion we approve item 8.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. One more time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance amending the employee retirement system defined contribution plan for the position of department head or city manager for the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, by adopting a revised and restated retirement plan, providing retirement benefits for eligible employees of the city of Shawnee, Oklahoma, providing for purpose and organization, providing for definitions, providing for eligibility and participation, providing for non-alienation of benefits, providing for employer and employee contributions, providing for accounting, allocation, and valuation, providing benefits, providing for required notice, providing for amendments and termination, providing for transfer to and from other plans, creating a retirement committee and providing for powers, duties, and rights of retirement committee, providing for payment of certain obligations, providing for duration and payment of expenses, providing for effective date, providing for vesting schedules, providing for a fund to finance the system to be pooled with other incorporated cities and towns and their agencies and instrumentalities for purposes of administration, management, and investment, part of the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund, providing for payment of all contributions under the system to the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund for management and investment, providing for repealer and severability, adopting those amendments mandated by the Internal Revenue Code, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, sir. All righty, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 8. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to add an emergency clause.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
All righty. We have a motion and a second for approval of the emergency clause. We'll call that question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 9, consideration of a resolution declaring certain City of Shawnee property surplus and no longer needed for the city purposes, describing said items and authorizing the sale of said items at City of Shawnee's discretion. And our city manager, is that power you, ma'am?
Wonderful. How are you this evening?
Doing great.
The Public Works Yard currently has 75 pallets of 360 bricks sitting there each. So for a total of 27,000. Those bricks were used in the rehabilitation process for the streetscaping for the Santa Fe Depot. So they've been sitting there for 3 years. We have no further purpose for those bricks, and we would like to surplus those. Staff recommendation is to approve the resolution to do so, because it is above the threshold of $5,000, for which we then require a resolution.
Ready? Anybody got any questions? No questions? No? Anyone have a motion?
I'll move to approve the item.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Is that Mark?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was, but I wasn't looking down that way. All righty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution declaring certain City of Shawnee property surplus and no longer needed for city purposes, describing said items and authorizing the sale or disposal of said items at the City of Shawnee's discretion.
Thank you, sir. All righty, we have a motion and a second to approve item 9. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Let's see, item 10, consider bids for kid space improvement project. So, Mr. Barkheimer is up. How are you, sir?
Yes, sir. Pretty good. How are you?
Doing great.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I know you guys are familiar with the project. This again is Kid Space Park. Brad opened the bids last meeting, and at that bid opening, if you'll recall, we had 6 bids. Low bid was about $3.4 million, and the high bid was about $4.2 million on the base bid. So since then, staff has reviewed the bids and communicated with several of the bidders. At this time, staff recommends awarding to the second lowest bidder, which is Lambert Construction Company. We recommend awarding the base bid along with alternate options 1A, 1B, 2, and 3, putting the total contract at $3,634,462.05. So this project is part of the 2018 half-cent sales tax effort, and with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Anybody got any questions for Seth?
Is there a reason we're not doing alternate 4?
The additional water fountains. There are water fountains as part of the plan. These were additional water fountains above the base bid, so it was just a cost analysis, really.
What are the expected timeline on getting this project rocking and rolling?
Yeah, so after award tonight, we have about a 60-day window. I would say the contractual window where we would, get everything signed up, button up, get a schedule going, get everybody in line, and then it's a 300-day project timeline. So roughly a year from today, we should be looking at Kid Space Park being, substantially complete.
It's amazing.
That's good. Just not road related to this bid, but I know we've had some people express concerns about the planks that had the names etched into them. Mm-hmm. Is that still a plan to try to utilize them in some way?
I can't answer that question. Do you know about that?
I know that as the structure was taken down, where those could be saved, they were saved by Public Works. But at this point in time, there are no plans to reincorporate those into the structure, so we will have to find an alternative for those planks.
Okay.
They have been saved to the extent possible.
Okay, because I do get asked about that every now and then,
Correct.
so just wanted to double check, but thank you very much. Any other questions? Anyone like to make a motion on Kids Space Park?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 9. I'm sorry, excuse me.
10.
Approve 10, pardon.
Sorry, for
Sorry.
staff recommendation?
Yep.
Sorry, okay.
I'll second.
Just
Yes,
so
sir.
that we're clear, make sure that the motion is to approve the staff recommendation to award the bid to Lambert Construction with all the adults but 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and we will call the question. Thank you, Seth. Motion passes 6-0. Item 11 is administrative report. Let's see, progress report for 11-year block program. Ryan Harkins, Community Development Director. All right, Mr. Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. As you may recall, we submitted an application to the Bloomberg Institute for Civic and Public Engagement through Johns Hopkins University to be included in the Love Your Block program. Love Your Block is a program designed to address issues related to blight and substandard conditions. We chose the Dunbar Heights area as our target neighborhood, and once we were awarded participation and a grant for this program, we became one of 8 cities in the country to go through this current cohort. So right now we are in a cohort with cities like Duluth, Minnesota, Salt Lake City, El Paso, Albany, White Plains, Erie, and Jackson, Tennessee. There are, as part of the program, staff visits or site visits to each community. So part of the reason for the progress report is the fact that currently the first year site visit is happening right now. So there are 2 staff members from Johns Hopkins here today. They have been on the ground throughout the day talking with stakeholders. Some of you have sat in meetings with them through different organizations. You've heard some of the stories, and part of the reason they're here is to see how we're doing and what some of our next steps are. Part of the issue of dealing with blight and substandard conditions in this area is dealing with specific issues throughout this first year. So we've targeted vacant lot cleanup, we've targeted lot beautification, we've also targeted small home repair. Things that we can do through the use of volunteer networks and volunteer projects, volunteer labor, to address and alleviate some of these issues at the neighborhood and block level. So with me to talk a little bit more about what the overall institute does, the staff from Bloomberg is here, Tracy Kaluga and Rose Rodriguez. Rose will talk a little bit specifically about Love Your Block. I'm sure they will tell you what we are doing right now and how they see that fitting into the overall program, but also just a little bit of an overview about some of the things that they see from their perspective as well. So I'm going to let them come up at this time. They are also looking at, while they are here, what our next steps are. We've had 2 work days service events already, and there are a number of being programmed to start to institute service days, at least one for each month going forward throughout the calendar year. Some will be focused on lot cleanup, some will be focused more on small home repair, but there's a specific focus with each one. So with that, I'm going to let you go. Right here. Right there.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Commission, and City Manager. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Tracy Kolunga, Civic Engagement Director for the Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation. This is my colleague, Rose Rodriguez, Senior Advisor from the Love Your Block program. You're going to hear from her in just a moment. I am going to click quickly through the slides that you have in front of you.
Before I get started, I do want to share on a personal note, my parents were born and raised here in Shawnee, Oklahoma. So when I found out we awarded this grant, it comes from a very personal place in my heart. My dad's here with me, Tim Hollingsworth, my Aunt Loretta Columbus, and my nephew, Ryan, and his girlfriend, Jessica, who all live here. I have tons of family in and around Shawnee. Probably the most famous family member is former County Sheriff Danny Columbus, who passed away last year. And just so honored to be here to serve the city and to be here with my family. So thank you for letting me share that personal note. But we're so excited. The Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation, Mike Bloomberg, the billionaire, donated $43 million to help cities like yours to begin to transform your local government. And that really happens through citizen participation. And I'm going to zip through these slides. As I said, I won't keep us here too long, and hopefully I'll get this right. Am I pointing it in the right direction? Okay, just go ahead and say next. Down is next. Okay. Here we go. Here we see Mike Bloomberg giving the donation to the president of Johns Hopkins University. And Mike Bloomberg, when he was mayor of New York, invested heavily in citizen participation. And that's where Love Your Block 1.0 was birthed many years ago. Our focus is really transforming local government by investing in our local elected officials, our public sector professionals, and partnering closely with the community. The path to innovation is the model that we use in all the work that we do to really help uncover the problems that are important to the mayor, commission, and the community, and really help develop data-driven solutions based on the community input to solve large problems like blight and others. I want to share that we have 5 key areas of investment, and that's what I'm here to tell you tonight. Rose is going to talk about Love Your Block in just a minute, but we have 5 areas of investment. You're in one of our portfolios. We'd love for you to be in all 5 of them over the next 5 to 7 years. Here's our directors of our 5 different practice areas. And our program locations are all over the world. So Shawnee is actually making a global name for yourself because you're our smallest city that we're funding with 30,000 residents. And we want to showcase to the world what a community like yours can do with $100,000. So we will be putting you on the national and international stage as we continue to watch the Love Your Block program blossom here in the city. We have our innovation practice where we fund innovation teams all around the world. This is something that you may want to consider for the future to fund. I was the I-Team director for the city of Long Beach, California, where I worked for 16 years and managed our Bloomberg portfolio. Again, it's a $1 million grant, and it may be something that you want to look at in the future as you continue to build out the innovative work you're doing as a city. We also have our digital practice, and this is helping cities digitize practices for your city. It could be the permitting process or maybe voter registration. You as a city decide what do you want to digitize, and we'll come in and fund a team of experts, local experts, to help you build your digital services. And our academic practice, partnering with local universities to document through research and student participation that what you're doing is best practices to teach the rest of the world. And then last but not least, our civic engagement practice, which I have the blessed honor to oversee. We have a collaborative of over 280 cities around the world that are trained on best practices around civic engagement. And now I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Rose Rodriguez, our senior advisor for the Love Your Block program.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. And very briefly, the Love Your Block program is one of our flagship programs. We've operated Love Your Block, helped implement Love Your Block in over 50 cities around the country. We're very excited based on what we saw today. There was a lot of positive reception from different stakeholders. There seems to be a lot of great momentum and loving the support that we're getting from leadership to keep this program going. And call to action to the community is to get involved. Speak to the representatives of the Love Your Block program. Kudos to Ryan and Shakaya and Bailey Kotz, who are working directly with the Love Your Block program, and they want to hear from you. And we want to make sure that you all are speaking up on behalf of your communities. But the grant is basically the $100,000, the fellow, which is the Love Your Block Fellow, Shakaya, the AmeriCorps Vista member, Bailey Kotz, and then grant funding to support the actual projects on the ground. So that's it. That's all we wanted to share. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And that brings us to item 12, new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's see, commissioners' comments. Start, Danny, you want to start down your end?
Yeah, sure. Thankful for Ryan, your leadership, and our guests. Appreciate you all being here. I was talking with Travis. Travis mentioned earlier, but certainly fond memories of Mr. Columbus and all that he did for our community. So thank you, and it's cool that you get to continue to serve and be here in our community. So we're grateful to have you, thankful to work with you going forward. Wolf, I'm certain that the lake stuff will be moving, and we will continue to drive those conversations. Mr. Nagel, if you can't work it out with OBU privately, I'm sure they're going to hear about tonight. Certainly a reminder to all citizens that at all times we have the Action Center that you can call, even report things anonymously so you don't cause trouble with your neighbors. That's 878-1602, and code enforcement will get on it. Not settle disputes, but for the stuff that you talked about, that certainly would be an avenue that all citizens could utilize. I'm really excited about approving the Kids Space Park tonight. That's such a huge deal for our community. I think one of the things that I take the most seriously up here is we have to manage the Shawnee of today, but also look forward to tomorrow. And this is something that we have and can approve that will make our community better for years to come. And so these are big, important steps, and I'm really excited to get behind that. And Mr. Mayor, obviously, the very moving moment the declaration for Donate Life, that was very touching, and it talks about the difference we can all make. Today I got to stand with friends as they adopted a new little girl into their family, and cool. There's so many caring and amazing people here in our community that are committed to making a difference in the lives of others, and hopefully we're all inspired to do that for someone this week.
Commissioner Matthews said so many good things that I wanted to say, so. But so eloquently, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who came for public comments. Those are really appreciated and help us kind of hone in on what's important and what's going on, and sometimes we don't know about those things in our ward. Mr. Nagel in particular, you can definitely check out the houses around you and that development and see what's going on there. I think that the people at OBU would be receptive to hearing about that, and we'll see, what's going on in that situation. Mr. Wolf mentioned that there's been some increased patrol at the lake, and I talked to the chief last commission meeting, and I know that progress is slow. Sometimes we're looking to do as much as we can to make sure that we have the patrol that we need out there. And it was noted about Dock 1, and see what we can do to repair that to make it more useful. Let's see. I wanted to say thank you for our guests that traveled so long to be here. What a touching moment. Mayor, thank you for sharing that personal story tonight. And in general, I'm just excited for the time that we have here in Shawnee. It seems like since I've moved here, which was six and a half years ago, there's only been progress and great things happening and new people coming in to help. To hear that we're one of 8, I guess, you said 8 communities receiving the Love Your Block initiative and funding is really exciting, because we're in this really weird size where sometimes if you're in a small community, like I grew up in Sulphur, we had this thing called service over Sulphur, and like my dad and his friends team up with the church and they go fix people's houses. But we're a little bit too big to do that here, and so we need the resources from these outside programs. So thank you for coming and sharing tonight. And I'm excited that this Kid Space Park is going to be finished in 1 year. That'll be really great for the community. I think that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, goodness. So just thinking about the different things that are the legacies of the amazing men and women that come before us. Ms. Tracy, thinking about you being here, working to do this, and your family being here for so long and doing so many amazing things in this community, it just goes to show how important it is for us to do the absolute very best with each and every moment that we have. A new slogan that I'm adopting after hearing some things is "While we are here." While we are here, let's do absolute very best to live and love and do what we can, and then to piggyback that, the fact that April 1st was the 1 year anniversary of me losing my father, and he was also an organ donor, and 23 people received organs and tissue from him. It was pretty amazing, and I wouldn't have. It just goes to show that continuing to be selfless is always the best way to go. So that's amazing. Oh goodness, I know that we are really right in the middle of budgeting and building next year's plan, and I'm without a doubt know that they are working on budget for so many things across the city and at the lake, and so I hope very soon to hear great things out there about some of the things that we know we've been talking about and going to be working into putting into reality. So I hope we hear some of those things soon. Sir, the OBU community, I know that they're the right people have not heard your story yet, and I believe the right people heard your story tonight, and I have zero doubt that somebody will reach out to you and do their best to help make sure that part of Shawnee doesn't fall any further into disrepair. So I know that without a doubt. There's sometimes things like that slip through the cracks, sometimes without any ill intent. Things like that happen. Mr. Young calls me on the regular basis or sends me pictures of things that happen, and most of the time it is a pretty easy conversation with either the homeowner or with the city to help those things get moved along, and hopefully that's what we have here is just information that's being missed by somebody, and we can move forward on that. Oh goodness, sidewalks. Has anybody seen the sidewalks going on? That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, for sure. I love that. Working with some of the families that we work with, I forget whenever I'm driving my big old stupid truck down the road to get places, how if I did not have a vehicle, or if I just wanted to go out for a nice walk down my street, that if a nice sidewalk, how important that is. And to see those sidewalks going up in some of our busiest parts of town, connecting some of our city for anybody that wants to walk or to bike or to, get groceries back and forth to their house, or just to go out for fun. Anything. It's just I love it. I'm super excited about it, and it's amazing. I can't wait to see more of them. I can't wait to see the continued complete streets. And one of the first things that myself and my little girl did when we moved to Shawnee so many years ago was play on that Kids Space park, and I am super excited to see that thing being rebuilt as she's going off to college in a couple of months, which is pretty wild. So anyways, so yeah, it's hard to believe. Yeah. So, but again, as always, thank you, city staff. You're amazing individuals. I love working with you every day. I love seeing you out in the community. I love being part of this city with you and your hard work and your hearts. And just look forward to continuing to be awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
You're up.
Boy, they don't give me and Benny much love.
Yeah.
Appreciate Bloomberg, putting us in one of the 8. I think it will be a really neat program. I know Ricky probably is involved heavily in it, and we appreciate that. Nope. Organ donors, from a standpoint of the grief of the family of the donors to the joy of the recipients, it's just something else to, it's just a blessing for the people that get it. I wished everybody was an organ donor, but I think it's gets public awareness on how critical it is for individuals and the families it affects. Kids Space, that's going to be a neat facility, and it looks like a pretty quick turnaround. I noticed it came in about $500,000 under what the architect had estimated, which that's in today's times is kind of interesting, because everything's been coming in high. But public comments, the people that were here tonight, we really appreciate it. I think, some of the stuff we're isolated a little bit about some of the things that go on and we don't know about it. But I think, especially the OBU, I know OBU just probably had dropped the ball, public, their maintenance crews, I think will be a lot more aware of it. And I think that will probably cure itself really quick. I don't know if he had talked to OBU at all or not. But I think you'll definitely see some movement on that. The building on 113 Philadelphia that Rob Morris is talking about, I don't know what.
I have an update. We already have a bid on
To
this
tear it
particular,
down?
and it will be taken down within the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the city government moves really slow, I have figured that out in the time I've been up here. But anyway, the comments from the public is welcome, and I appreciate everybody that comes up here. I know it's not fun to sit in front of the mic and voice grievances, but we appreciate it. Benny?
If you're not a donor, be sure and become one. It's easy, and as we see, it works. And so, as far as the housing, anything that the citizens want to report, they can call the action office. Whether it's dilapidated houses, potholes, tall grass, they can send code enforcement officers out and check that out, and they can get it corrected. And I'm happy to see Kid Space progressing. There was quite a few splinters when right before it was torn down. So I'm glad to see that coming along. I think that's all I have to say.
All right. You guys didn't leave me very much, let me tell you. Yeah, I was going to report that Philadelphia building is coming down soon.
And you guys kind of took my thunder there. So, but I'm glad to see that's going to be happening soon. Lake patrols, I know we're working on that issue as we're developing budget. What else? I want to thank Tracy and Rose for coming and spending the day with us. I got to sit in on some of those meetings, and that was really, really nice. This Love Your Block grant program that we've got going has just been so favorably received in different meetings that I've been in around the community, and I'm really excited for the results there. And you know, I think it's just going to work out great. Had good conversation as we met our two new friends today, and when Tracy told me that Shawnee, Oklahoma had been a topic of discussion at the White House recently, I mean, that kind of blew me away. But I know she was there personally at the White House, and Shawnee was subject of conversation there. So, you know, I kind of like our little town being an example in, yeah, there you go, in places like that. There you go. Yeah, so we appreciate those conversations, and hopefully that'll lead to more good things for Shawnee. But it's been very nice in the meetings that I've been in around the community that program has been so favorably received, and people are very excited about it. And last but not least, I want to thank the Gist family for coming down from Tulsa. You know, we wanted to do that proclamation, but I thought it'd be a whole lot more impactful if you guys could meet my my friend Jalea, and just see how important that is. Now, she's just one of 5 people whose lives were literally saved by my son's donation. And then there were countless others that, you know, had great improvements in their life from other gifts that they received from him. But it means a lot more if you can actually see it, and you see that smile that she has. So we're so glad to have them here. So with that, we will adjourn, and we will move on to the Airport Authority. So item 1 is consider approval of consent agenda. Does anybody got anything on the consent agenda you want to remove?
Move to approve item 1.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Daniel and Cammie. Motion to approve item 1. We will call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 2, new business.
No new business.
Thank you, ma'am. We are adjourned. We move on to Municipal Authority. Item 1 is consider approval of consent agenda.
I move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We'll call the question. Motion passes 6-0. Item 2, new business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. And we are adjourned. It is time to go home.